Hey there everybody, Scotia here with another video for today as we've gotten another update and trailer for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So it wasn't even that long ago when we had our last update on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which I believe was the Goku and Vegeta trailer, and yeah, I didn't have like a ton to say about that trailer. Like, it was a good trailer and they all looked great, but like at the end of the day, like it was just Goku and Vegeta, two characters I like, but not my favourite characters by any means, so it was a fun trailer but nothing too exciting. Whereas with the new trailer we just got like a couple of hours ago by the time that I'm recording this, we've got a new host of characters announced, and it's actually a pretty decent variety. We've got a few characters from Super and we've got a few characters from Z. So overall a pretty balanced update, one that we kind of did actually know about in advance. The scans from the upcoming issue of V-Jump in Japan did leak the other day, so we did know that these characters were going to be added to the game, but it was just a case of waiting to see the trailer that showed them all in action. So I'll talk about those characters in that trailer in a little bit, but for now I want to talk about the kind of gameplay trailer that we saw, because there was a presentation today done by I think one of the producers or the directors of Sparking Zero, and he talked about a number of gameplay things, and I won't go too deep into that, but the main thing I wanted to talk about in this regard is they kind of showed a almost uninterrupted match of just gameplay footage from the actual game. And I say almost interrupted because there was a couple cuts here and there, but it was almost a full match basically between Goku and Vegeta, and we saw the HUD and a couple of other things. So that's kind of what I want to talk about first before we get into the character trailer later. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. So like I just said, the match was basically between Goku Super versus Vegeta Super, and it started off pretty interesting with like a kind of intro between the two with like some unique dialogue. It's been a minute since I played the Budokai Tenkaichi games, so I'm pretty sure those games had unique dialogue depending on who you were facing against. But even if it didn't, that's clearly the case here, which is nice to see. And then after that, the fight kicks off properly, and then this is when we have our first look at the HUD, and overall I actually quite like it. I mean, it's not as good as Tenkaichi 3's or maybe even Tenkaichi 2's, but to be fair, it's been even longer since I last played that game. But overall I do like it. In a way it kind of reminds me of a mix of kind of like Raging Blast and Budokai Tenkaichi, and I know a lot of people don't really, I don't know if they don't like the Raging Blast games. I think people like them, but it was always compared a lot to the Budokai Tenkaichi games, which made sense because they were sort of spiritual successors. But I really liked the Raging Blast games. And I mean, the roster wasn't as good as Budokai Tenkaichi, so I think if my memory's right, there was, a very big lack of GT characters in that game, which for me, wasn't a deal breaker, but it's that thing of like, I prefer it when as much of the series is represented, overall. But yeah, the HUD, just the style of it, and especially the character portraits of Goku and Vegeta really just reminds me of Raging Blast. Maybe Raging Blast 2, I'm not sure which one specifically. Raging Blast 2 was the one that I played more, so it's probably that one that's reminding me of the most. But yeah, overall, I really like it. Like I said, it feels like a really good blend. It's still like easily identifiable. It's like, obviously, these are like parts of the HUD for Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that I remember very clearly. Like the super bar and the different kind of like coloured health bars and all that, like all the factors that are very familiar about those games. They're here and they look different, but they're still easily recognizable, and I'm fine with that. So in terms of the actual gameplay itself, obviously I can't say too much about it because, like I haven't played it, so this is purely just off a visual, just looking at it. But, it very much looks like Budokai Tenkaichi. And I know they've been saying that, and like, this is the next entry in the series, blah, blah, blah. But saying and doing are two very different things, and I think there was always that doubt in the back of my mind. Like, is it, they're going to say all this, and obviously it presents itself as Budokai Tenkaichi, but at the end of the day, like, if it doesn't play like it, then, that's a big failing. But yeah, overall, it just looks really good. It looks faster than BT3 actually, if anything, which is quite funny because I remember like seeing on Reddit and other places like a lot of people's concerns was that it looked slower, like just based off the footage we'd seen. Like that was a concern I saw quite often, was that a lot of people were worried that the game looked slower and was going to be slower than BT3. But honestly, it looks way faster. Like that kind of my only real concern on the gameplay so far is that at times it was kind of like, I don't normally get like motion sickness from games and stuff like that, but there were moments where I was kind of like, man, this looks like too fast almost. Like I don't think that's an issue. I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I think the first time I watched it, I was definitely caught off guard in terms of like how quick a lot of the movement was, especially, the kind of quick zips that Goku was doing towards Vegeta. It was like, whoa, that's like, it's like whiplash almost, just kind of like boom, boom, boom. It was very quick, and like it was a bit kind of like, whoa. I don't know. I've been fine watching it back, and like I'm watching the gameplay now as I talk about it. But on that first watch, it was kind of like, it was almost disorientating a bit. But I'm not too worried about that. Like I think that was just that kind of initial like, oh wow, like this game is very quick. But yeah, like I honestly I don't have any complaints, which is kind of crazy. Like it looks fantastic. The camera's a bit, I don't think the camera's bad. I've seen some people say they don't like the camera, which is fair. I totally get why people might not like the camera. But yeah, like, it just, the dynamicness of it is just, I don't know if that's a word, but the dynamic nature of the camera and the movement in general, just, it looks so fluid to me. And it's like, I'm honestly really impressed how much this actually just genuinely does look like a kind of follow-up to Budokai Tenkaichi. Like I said earlier, like, you know, obviously it was obvious, like they kept saying that this was that game, like this is the follow-up, this is a sequel, this is another entry in the Sparking series. But to kind of see it now in action and actually, you know, see for myself, like, oh damn, like they actually weren't lying, like they actually did do it. It's just pretty crazy to me, really. I think my favourite thing out of the whole gameplay thing though is that so far I love the battle damage. Like, I think my only kind of issue with it is that like it seems to happen a bit too quickly. Like one Kamehameha from Goku like eviscerated Vegeta's armor. And you know, the thing I was saying, like I love how Vegeta's armor looks, like how all the armor's gone, and it's like it's almost similar to his like Buu Saga design when he's got like the sleeveless blue like singlet thing going on. It looks a lot like that, and I love it, but obviously it's different. He's still got the sleeve and it's torn and like he's bruised and all that. And I love how it looks, and obviously Goku looks great as well. Like he looks kind of similar to again his Buu Saga kind of outfit, you know, near the end of the Kid Buu fight when he's doing the Spirit Bomb at the end. But yeah, it feels like it just happens a bit too quick, you know? Like I think taking Goku as an example here, like if you do like a Gallic Gun or a Final Flash against Goku, like a level 1 or a level 2, I don't know, you know, how it's gonna work, but let's just use level 1s and level 2s and 3s as, you know, kind of the basis for this example. So say you do like a level 1 or 2, you know, attack to Goku, and that gets him to the state where, you know, the top gi is kind of like come off the orange gi, but he's got the blue undershirt still. Say for example, if you did like a level 3, so whatever, you know, Vegeta's final attack is like Big Bang Attack or something like that. If you did that and that got Goku from, you know, either if you did it straight away and it went from Goku, you know, in his normal gi to straight away like Goku shirtless, like say how he looks at the end of the Namek fight against Frieza, or you do like, you know, how he is, you know, the blue undershirt, you do the big attack and then he goes from, you know, the blue undershirt to then going shirtless. I think that makes sense and I'm fine with that. But I think if this is a thing where it's like any move of any kind, whether it's like a big level 3, like a big Final Flash, or a big, you know, Kamehameha, Super Kamehameha, you know, a Masenko or whatever, I think if any move gets them into that state of going like from normal gi at the start of the match to just straight away like how Vegeta looks in this and, you know, Goku with the blue undershirt, I think I'm not keen on that, because obviously in the original games, like you would get to that state usually like after a big attack, like usually the big like ultimate techniques that they would do, you know, like Goku would get into that damage state where he would have, you know, the blue undershirt. Whereas here it's like, you know, just a simple Kamehameha and a simple Gallic Gun is, you know, enough to get them to that state. I don't know. I don't know if it feels a bit too nitpicky, but it's kind of like, I love how the damage looks, and, you know, I think it looks great, and I especially love how Vegeta looks in this instance, but like, yeah, it feels like it's too much, you know, just for one simple attack, like, because that's going to be a thing of like, if this level of like outfit destruction or whatever you want to call it, if that's the same across the board, like if you do this to like Krillin, like Krillin's going to start losing pieces of his gi and stuff like that, like characters are going to literally get hit by one move and then just look like they've, you know, fought in a massive war. And I don't know, it's kind of a thing where it's like, I feel like there's a balance here, and I feel like how the original games did it was fine, but unless there's levels to it where it's like this is just like a middle stage kind of like battle damage, and then, you know, there's an end stage where they're even more torn, like, you know, more of Vegeta's armor is gone and even more of Goku's gi is gone. If that's the case, then that's fine, but if this is it, like if this how it is in this trailer is like that's the only battle damage you get regardless of the move, then I'm not that keen on that. But yeah, other than that, like, this looked amazing. Like, this was such a fun little deep dive into it. It's so good to see a match. I can't wait to see more matches with more characters. Like, I would love to see, like, a Trunks match, like a future Trunks fight, you know, whether it's, you know, Trunks with a sword or the Saiyan armor Trunks. Like, I would love a deep dive like that, seeing him go from, like, base Trunks to, you know, Super Saiyan Trunks and Super Trunks. But yeah, it's just good stuff, just a good showing. Finally good to actually see some gameplay, actually, you know, kind of, like, ease some concerns that people may have had. You know, anybody, like I said earlier, who was concerned the game looked a bit slow compared to Dragon Ball Tenkaichi 3, you know, hopefully that has eased those concerns. And yeah, it's good to see the game looks great, and that's, you know, that's the most important thing at the end of the day. So now we get into the real meat and potatoes of this video, or of this info dump that we've gotten today, because we finally get into the power versus speed trailer that we've kind of been expecting for a while now. because I believe the whole nature of power versus speed as like a theme was mentioned, I think, in the V-Jump that came out after Goku and Vegeta's trailer. So we've known for a while now that this was likely going to be the format for the next trailer or the theme based on, the next upcoming reveals. But like I said earlier, we knew that these characters were coming because of the V-Jump leaks, so it's not too surprising. But I'll list the characters that got revealed today in this trailer. So the characters that we got revealed were Super Trunks, Dispo, Kakunsa, Master Roshi Max Power, Nappa, Berta, Toppo, Jace, Super Saiyan Kale Berserk, Super Saiyan Broly Full Power, and Hit. So a pretty decent list, all things considered. I mean, there's a lot of super here, but I think that's just going to be the nature of this game. I think it's going to be a pretty, even heavy balance between Z and Super. But yeah, I think everybody in this trailer looked great. Obviously, there's a lot of characters I'm more interested in compared to others. I think most people like mostly the Saiyans. But Super Trunks looked great. Dispo, again, looked great. I'm actually still watching Super. I said in the last video that I'm currently in the middle of watching Super. I think at that point, I either just started or was just finishing the Future Trunks stuff with Zamasu and Goku Black. But at the moment I'm on, I think, episode 104, so I'm pretty deep into the Tournament of Power now. I think at this point I've been introduced to pretty much almost every major super character at this point, so I'm aware of most of them. I haven't seen a few in action yet, I haven't seen Jiren in action yet, really. Obviously, I know Jiren's a massive character in Super, and he's already been confirmed. But at this point, I've seen a fair amount of Super. I know roughly the deal with a lot of these characters, so it's good. I'm getting more info and getting more knowledge on who they are. But yeah, I think for me, the three characters I was probably most impressed with were Super Trunks, Super Saiyan Kale Berserk, and Super Saiyan Broly Full Power. I think the first and the last one especially, I think, looked amazing. Like, Super Saiyan Broly Full Power looks crazy. I'm actually really excited to play that version of Broly. The Super version, I mean. Obviously I'm a big fan of the Z movie version. That's the version I, grew up with, the version I'm used to. But I also like Super Broly a lot. So, I'm excited to play as them either way. But yeah, to be honest, now that I think about it, there's not really a lot I can actually say. I mean, I think everybody looks great. The new stage they showed off, which I think is West City, it looks fantastic. I've always been a huge fan of the city stages in the Dragon Ball games, especially the Ruined City stage from Tenkaichi 3. I love that stage. Probably my favorite arena in Tenkaichi 3, probably. And yeah, I love how West City looks. And for me, it's just, there's one shot in particular, actually, that I think about it that I actually really like. And it's funny enough, it's with Nappa, of all characters. I don't hate Nappa, but he's not my favourite character. But there's a part where Nappa is, I think, trying to do an attack on Berta. But as Berta is flying across the streets at the bottom of the screen, and Nappa is doing an attack that's kind of following him. And as it's going across, you just see all these buildings in West City just get slowly but surely just destroyed and tossed up in the air. And it just looks great. Now, obviously, they've talked before about the destruction being a big part of the game and a big focus for them, but I think this stage definitely highlights how good it looks, and just all the buildings being destroyed. And there's a part where I think Toppo sends Berta crashing into a kind of monorail, and that looked great as well. The way the monorail gets destroyed and crumbles just looks fantastic. There is one part near the end of this trailer, though, that's actually very interesting, and at the time I didn't think much of it, but I've heard other people kind of use it as an example of this is interesting. But there's a part where Broly and Kale kind of grapple with each other, standing on the ground, and I was kind of obviously I've seen parts of Kale in Super. I know she has more stuff coming up, at the point of the Tournament of Power arc that I'm in at the moment. I know she has more stuff coming up. I think she has another fight with Goku at some point. And it's been a while since I watched the Broly film. I will be rewatching the Broly film when I finish Super, because it has been a while. But I was trying to think, was that a moment that happened, maybe Broly and Gogeta, grappled at some point like that in Super, or maybe this is a thing about Kale, maybe Kale grapples somebody like that, and it's a move of either one of theirs. But I've seen people, post that picture and be this is weird because this isn't really part of any character's moveset, what's this from? And I've seen people say oh, is this maybe part of a what if saga? Because obviously one of the bigger things that I think Tenkaichi 3 added story wise was obviously you had the whole kind of going through the sagas of Dragon Ball in a very condensed format with the characters that were featured in that game's roster. But Tenkaichi 3 added the What If saga, which is kind of just pitted kind of dream matches using that characters GT characters versus Z characters, movie characters versus other movie characters. And I see this picture here of this part here where Kale and Broly are grappling each other, and I think I would totally believe this being a sort of tease of a possible what if saga of a kind of what if Kale Berserk for Broly Legendary Super Saiyan. And yeah, obviously it'll be a while, I would imagine, before we find out what that actually is about. Maybe it is a part of their moveset, maybe it's a specific kind of like power type of, you know, thing that only power type characters or bigger power type characters can do. You know, we have no idea what that could be at this point, you know, but it's still fun to speculate. But yeah, I think other than that, that's all I really wanted to talk about. Like, the game just looks fantastic. I'm really glad we saw gameplay. The gameplay looks fantastic. That's eased a lot of my concerns. Not that I had many concerns, but like, it's just good to be like, oh no, like this plays like, you know, just a faster Tenkaichi 3, but it just looks fantastic. It looks gorgeous. The roster is shaping up really well. I can't wait to see more characters that that I'm fans of. Can't wait to see more of Trunks. Obviously, I've said before, Trunks is probably my favorite character. I really want to see Gohan. It's kind of weird at this point we haven't seen Gohan, but I'm expecting at some point a kind of just a trailer that just has nothing but Gohan, because I think honestly with the amount of versions of Gohan you can get just out of Z alone, never mind like what they could do for Super, you know, you could easily do a trailer of just Gohans. So you know, when that happens, I think that'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how Gohan's going to turn out, and obviously Great Saiyaman and, you know, Goten and Kid Trunks and stuff like that. It's going to be fun. Like, this game just looks so good. I'm just so excited to keep seeing more of it. I'm already itching to see who else they're going to, you know, show off next. But yeah, I'll leave things here. Thank you all for watching. I shall see you either in the next Sparking Zero video or any other video that I do in the future. So until then, I shall see you later. Thank you and goodbye.
We await your return, warrior.